Arabica. Let us start with those dancing goats because this story is too good. Back in the 9th century in Ethiopia, a goat herder named Kaldi noticed his goats going absolutely wild after eating little red berries off a tree. Jumping around, full of energy, flat out refusing to sleep. Kaldi tried the berries himself, got that same buzz, and told a group of monks about it. Those monks in Yemen started crushing the berries into a drink so they could pray through the night without passing out. And that is the moment coffee was born, all because some goats could not chill. The bean they were eating was Arabica. Today, it runs 60% of the entire coffee world. It carries about 1.5% caffeine with more natural sugars and fats than any other bean, which is why it tastes smooth, a little fruity, sometimes floral. Pour over or slow drip is how you let Arabica do its thing. But Arabica has a serious weakness. It is incredibly fragile. Bad weather, bugs, one rough season, and the whole crop folds. And the bean that exploits that weakness, that thing is built like a tank. Robusta. If Arabica is the smooth talker at the party, Robusta is the one who kicks the front door off its hinges and does not apologize. This bean showed up from Central and West Africa in the 1800s, and farmers fell in love with it for one reason. You genuinely cannot kill this plant. Bugs, disease, garbage, soil, Robusta does not care. It pumps out almost double the caffeine of Arabica, sitting at about 2.7%. That extra caffeine is why it tastes so strong, earthy, and bitter. Espresso lovers live for that. That thick crema on a really good shot, Robusta doing the heavy lifting. And here is something that might ruin your morning. That instant coffee sitting in your kitchen right now, almost always Robusta. You have been drinking the tough guy this whole time and did not even know it. Now between Arabica and Robusta, you have covered 98% of the world's coffee. But that remaining 2% is where things get genuinely dark, because the next bean did not just grow somewhere interesting, it saved a country from collapse. And then it vanished. Liberica. In the 1890s, a disease called coffee rust was tearing through Southeast Asia like wildfire. Arabica farms were collapsing. Entire economies were going under. The Philippines stepped in, started growing this massive, oddly shaped bean called Liberica, and almost overnight, became one of the biggest coffee exporters on the planet. For one brief golden moment, this bean was everything. Then the United States seized control of the Philippines, choked off their global trade routes, and Liberica disappeared from the world market like it had never existed. An entire country's coffee economy, wiped out by politics. The beans are enormous, shaped like almonds, and the taste is nothing you have experienced before. Smoky, woody, a little floral. People in the Philippines still drink it and call it Barako, which translates to tough guy. Brew it in a French press if you ever find some. You will understand the name. But here is where things get strange. This bean has a cousin, and scientists have been fighting about it for almost 20 years. Excelsa. For decades, the coffee world agreed Excelsa was its own species. Done deal. Then in 2006, researchers dropped a paper that reclassified it as just a variety of Liberica. Coffee nerds lost their minds. They said, taste these two side by side and tell me with a straight face they are the same. Because they are not even close. Excelsa grows in Vietnam and the Philippines, and on its own it hits you with a sharp, tart, fruity punch that can feel like too much. But blend it with other beans and the whole cup transforms. It adds this layer of complexity and mystery you cannot quite place. Excelsa is the bass player of the coffee world. Nobody notices it, but take it away and the whole song falls apart. Those are your 4 underdogs. Now, we cross into different territory entirely, because the next bean spread across the entire Western Hemisphere from one stolen plant, Typica. Every fancy, single-origin coffee you have ever seen in a cafe traces its bloodline back to this one bean, and the way it spread across the world is genuinely criminal. Dutch traders brought Typica seeds from Yemen to Java in the late 1600s. From Java, they shipped a single plant to a greenhouse in Amsterdam, one tree. Then the French sent a naval officer named Gabriel de Cleux to steal a cutting from that tree. He nearly died on the voyage. Pirates attacked the ship. A crewmate tried to sabotage the plant. A storm almost destroyed it. De Cleux reportedly shared his own drinking water with the cutting to keep it alive. That one stolen plant made it to Martinique. And from Martinique, Its descendants eventually spread through all of Central and South America. That expensive Colombian single origin on your shelf right now? Its ancestor survived a pirate attack in a French officer's luggage 300 years ago. Typica does not produce many beans per tree, which is why it costs more, but the flavor makes you forget the price. Clean, sweet, silky, soft. V60 pour over, let that sweetness come through slow. Now, while Typica was being smuggled across oceans, its sibling got stranded on an island in the middle of nowhere. And something nobody expected started happening to it. Bourbon. French missionaries brought Arabica seeds to a tiny island called Bourbon, today known as Réunion, in the early 1700s. Those trees sat on that island completely alone for generations. No other coffee plants, no cross-pollination, no outside interference of any kind, just total isolation. And over the course of 200 years, the beans quietly changed on their own, rounder, sweeter, developing flavors the parent plant never had. Evolution happening in slow motion on a forgotten island in the Indian Ocean, and nobody was paying attention. When the coffee world finally tasted what bourbon had become, it was like finding a time capsule that had been improving itself in the dark, caramel, chocolate, and a richness that Typica cannot touch. Medium roast, AeroPress, and you are drinking what 2 centuries of loneliness created. But even Typica and bourbon have to step aside for what comes next. Because this bean sat ignored for 70 years, and then it broke the entire specialty coffee industry in a single afternoon. Gesha. Nobody wanted this bean. For 70 years, not a single person on the planet cared about it. Gesha was found growing wild in Ethiopia's forests in the 1930s. It got shuffled between research stations in Tanzania and Costa Rica. Nobody was impressed. It ended up on a farm in Panama called Hacienda La Esmeralda, just another plant on the property that nobody thought twice about. Then in 2004, the farm entered it into a coffee competition, and the room went silent. Judges stopped writing, started tasting again, then started arguing with each other, then started bidding against each other to take bags home. Jasmine, bergamot, tropical fruit, and honey all hitting at once. Nothing in the coffee world had ever tasted like this. Nothing has since. Gesha has sold for over $6,000 a pound at auction. That is the bean from the very beginning of this video. Light roast, pour over, and if you put cream and sugar in this, you are the kind of person who puts ketchup on Wagyu steak. Just do not. $6,000 a pound is obviously insane. But here is proof that price does not always equal quality, because the next bean costs a fraction of Gesha and still rewires how you think about coffee. Ethiopian Yirgacheffe. This bean turned a farming region most people cannot find on a map into a name that coffee lovers treat like holy ground. Yirgacheffe sits in southern Ethiopia at over 1,700 meters altitude. Farmers there have been growing coffee for hundreds of years on tiny garden plots, with trees shaded under larger canopies, everything handpicked. No machines, no industrial shortcuts, and while mega farms in Brazil were pumping out volume, these small plot farmers in Yirgacheffe were quietly producing coffee that made specialty roasters fly halfway around the world just to secure a few bags. Bright lemon, blueberry, florals, and a body so light it almost drinks like tea. This bean proves you do not need $6,000 to have your entire understanding of coffee flipped. Light roast, pour over, and just get out of its way. Everything up to this point has been bright, delicate, refined. What comes next is going to feel like a completely different drink, and that is because it is. Sumatra Mandiling. This bean does not do subtle at all. It comes from the western highlands of Sumatra, named after the Mandailing people who have been farming this region for centuries. Dutch colonists brought coffee there in the 1600s, but the thing that makes Sumatran coffee taste like nothing else has zero to do with the Dutch. Local farmers invented their own processing method called wet hulling, where they strip the outer layer off while the bean is still damp. Every other coffee-producing region on Earth said they were doing it wrong. Turns out that wrong method produces one of the most distinctive flavors in the entire coffee world. Dark chocolate, cedar, tobacco, damp earth. Zero brightness, zero delicacy. Just thick, bold, heavy flavor that coats your mouth and refuses to leave. French press or dark espresso. Anything more gentle would be a waste. Now from the heaviest, darkest coffee on this list to the one that ended up in every American kitchen. And it got there through one of the smartest cons in agricultural history. Colombian Supremo. Colombia did not just grow great coffee, they used a fake person to sell it to the entire world. And it actually worked. Jesuit missionaries brought the first plants in the early 1700s. The coffee was genuinely good. But good does not sell on a global scale. So in the 1950s, the National Federation of Coffee Growers invented a fictional farmer named Juan Valdez, gave him a mustache and a donkey, and launched one of the most successful marketing campaigns in agricultural history, a made-up character selling a real product. And it worked so well that for an entire generation, Colombian became the default word for good coffee in America. No other coffee-producing country has ever pulled anything close to that off. Supremo is their top grade. Balanced, medium body, caramel sweetness, light nuttiness, soft citrus finish. Nothing flashy. Just a cup that shows up and delivers every single time. Medium roast, drip machine. Now you know the con that put it in your kitchen. We are down to the last two. And these are not just expensive, these are hoarded. One of them has an entire country buying 80% of the supply before the rest of the world even gets a look. Jamaica Blue Mountain. Japan loves this coffee so much that they have been quietly cornering the market for decades, and most people have no idea it is happening. Blue Mountain only grows in one specific range in Jamaica, between 3,000 and 5,500 feet of elevation. The British planted coffee there in 1728, and the combination of cool mist, volcanic soil, and constant rain created one of the smoothest cups ever grown. Japan figured this out before anyone else, locked down long-term contracts directly with Jamaican farms, and now buys roughly 80% of the entire harvest before it ever touches the international market. That means every other country on Earth is fighting over the leftover 20%, which is exactly why it is so expensive and so hard to find. Mild, clean, almost zero bitterness, sweet floral notes, and a creamy finish. Pour over, medium light roast, nothing added. But here is your warning. Blue Mountain Blend on a label can legally mean as little as 10% real beans mixed with whatever else they feel like throwing in. Always look for 100% certification or you are paying top dollar for a knockoff. And this is the part of the video where we tell you about the bean that might be scamming you. Because this last one has the exact same problem and almost nobody checks. Kona. Every Kona bean in existence comes from a strip of volcanic land in Hawaii that is 2 miles wide and 30 miles long. That is the entire global supply of real Kona coffee. All of it. A minister named Samuel Ruggles planted the first trees there in 1828 on 2 volcanic slopes on the Big Island. Nearly 200 years later, that same tiny belt of soil still produces every single Kona bean on the planet. Nobody has successfully replicated it anywhere else. The slow altitude growth lets sugars build up over time, and the high oil content creates a richness you feel the second it hits your tongue. Medium body, bright acidity, brown sugar sweetness, and a buttery finish that stays with you. But here is the problem, and this is what most people never check. Kona Blend can legally contain just 10% real Kona beans. The other 90% can be whatever the roaster wants. Same scam as Blue Mountain. If the bag does not say 100% Kona, you are paying premium money for a name with almost nothing behind it. 12 beans, 12 stories. And at least 2 of them are probably sitting in your kitchen scamming you right now. Subscribe if you want more food breakdowns like this one.